From the Israel Sports Radio Studios in Jerusalem, Israel, our nation's capital, it's Lewis Live! There's your host, me, Ari Lewis. Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. This is Lewis Live coming at you on IsraelSportsRadio.com. We welcome our friends at Justin.tv. Over there, Justin.tv/Israel Sports Radio, DOTCOM. We have a jam-packed show tonight, so much to talk about. Our lead story we'll get into with Ari Bluestein in just a few moments, the Ryan Braun biogenetic scandal, and recently the tweets that have come out regarding that. Very juicy stuff, so we're going to get into that. After Ari Bluestein, we'll have on Scott Neiss from Israel Lacrosse. Israel Lacrosse had some big games the past few weeks against Turkey in Ashkelon. And it's nice to see that these other countries are coming to Israel to travel to play against Israel. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll have a very special in-studio guest, Alex Griffel, my play-by-play partner in the Maccabea games. And want to thank Mr. Kurtz, Peter Kurtz, Klein Katz, all the great people with Israel Baseball, the IAB. It's just a fantastic event. I'm very honored to be a part of that, to be the color man for this great game. Thursday, tomorrow, will be the semifinals. Canada will take on Israel. The winner will play the United States on Friday for the championship, and that will wrap up the 2013 Maccabi Games. But before we go and continue talking about amateur baseball, let's talk about the pros with our Philadelphia insider, Ari Bluestein.
Please.
Or not. Let's see if he can pick up his phone. Anyway, the broad thing, I'm going to read about this in a few moments. Really disgusting stuff. I really haven't read anything like that in a long, long time. It makes you really, really sad to read that kind of stuff. So we'll get about that in just a moment. Again, the game is tomorrow at Baptist Village. That's in Petah Tikva. So you can go out there and catch the game. Game tomorrow is at 10 in the morning. The game on Friday is 11 in the morning. And it's a lot of fun stuff. You want to catch some live baseball, that's the place to do it. And some of these kids very well could end up playing high Division I, play the minor leagues, maybe the major leagues. Peter Kurtz has some very ambitious goals regarding all of that. Again, let's switch over from amateur baseball to the professional ranks with our Philadelphia insider, Ari Bluestein. Ari, welcome back to Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Ari.
All right, let's get right into this Ryan Braun scandal. The biogenesis, Ryan Braun is on that list. A-Rod's on this list. But before we get into the technicalities of the case, we got to talk about these nasty tweets. I'm going to read these here. Now, forgive me because you'll have to sit and listen to it, but I have to get the audience knowledge on that. Here are some of the tweets. Now, these are just from regular people tweeting to Ryan Braun. Here's a couple. Ryan Braun really pulled a Jew move. His ancestors taught him well. Here's another one. Dear Ryan Braun, burn in hell, you dumb Jew. Great, another famous Jew who lied to get ahead. Ryan Braun will welcome you to the prestigious company of Bernie Madoff. Ryan Braun, you had this coming, you Jew. I mean, on and on and on. The irony, of course, Ryan Braun is not Jewish. According to Jewish law, his mother is Catholic. So anyways, let's talk about that. These tweets coming from regular folks. Give us your disgusting reaction to it.
I mean, look, there's anti-Semites all over the world, and that's just the way it is. And, you know, I was talking to my wife, and when this news came down, I knew that's what people were going to say. They don't care, you know, if it technically, you know, his mother isn't Jewish, so technically he's not Jewish. They know him as a Jewish athlete because there's so few famous Jewish athletes. So
good point.
I knew it was coming, that there'd be, you know, anti-Semitic remarks made about Ryan Braun, and that's just the way the world is, unfortunately, and it's the world we live in, and we just have to deal with it. These kinds of ideas are put into people's heads when they're younger by their parents, and it's been passed down on and on and on, and as much progression as you know, civil rights have made, there's still a lot of racism against African Americans in America as well. So, you know, you're not going to hear those type of comments if there happens to be an African-American baseball player that's on the list. And you're not going to hear the same type of comments when Alex Rodriguez is named. Not going to use the word SPIC against Alex Rodriguez. You're not going to, I mean, maybe you will see those tweets, but it probably won't be as documented as much. But unfortunately, Ari, that's the world we live in, and I knew it was coming. And, you know, it's a shame for people to be simple-minded like that, but that's the way it is.
Well, you bring up that point. It's so funny. I thought the same thing. I thought when Barry Bonds got in trouble, I don't remember seeing the N-word, and when Manny Ramirez got in trouble, I don't remember seeing any Hispanic slurs. Why is it so much worse for a Jewish player, even though he's not technically Jewish, but why is it worse for the Jews?
Well, I think, you have that stereotype of the dishonesty and the cheating. It stems from, you can even go to the Shakespeare play, The Merchant of Venice.
With Shylock.
The character. Yeah, exactly. You can go to that. And that is the perception people have of Jews. And I do know some that are like that. But the problem is there are lots of people like that, whether they're black, white, yellow, purple, green, it doesn't matter. It's just, it happens that the Jewish people have that reputation because of the Shakespeare play, and also because you have, back in the day, and it's still true today because I myself do some accounting work, a lot of Jews that handled money back in the day, and that's the way it worked back during the Shakespearean times, and they had the reputation of the dishonesty, whether it was true or not. So, unfortunately, that is the rap that the Jewish people have. And, the African Americans and the Latinos of the world, they have certain stereotypes as well, but it does not pertain particularly to cheating and being dishonest. And unfortunately, it's the Jewish people that have that bad stereotype.
I like that answer a lot. Very logical. That makes a lot of sense. And some explanations could be some of the explanations. The irony, of course, by the way, part of the reason why Jewish people were lenders, at least in Shakespearean times, it's against the Catholic Church to charge interest, and it's not against the Jewish religion to do that. They went into bankings and so on, so that was part of the reason for that.
Right.
In regards to
that's exactly right, yeah.
Now, in regards to the tweets, I mean, not that there was any violence per se. I mean, these insults, in my opinion, are one step away from violence, but will there be any security enforced? I mean, the stupid thing about it is you could find out who tweaked this. It's not like it's anonymous. You could go on the guy's handle. You could find out who it is. So you think they have to do any type of police investigation or try to contact people, track these people down, or do they say, hey, this is freedom of speech and we got to let them run with it and we can't really do about it?
Yeah, I think at this point, based on that story on the Huffington Post that reported all these tweets, that you have to just kind of let it go for now. I would say potentially when Ryan Braun plays again next season, extra security measures might have to be put in place if this escalates even more. But my feeling is, Ari, that the tweets went out. It was a select few people that made the tweets. And I think that's the end of it. I think people will forget about it, especially because we're about to undergo an extreme Alex Rodriguez case because, according to reports, they have a lot more on A-Rod than they did on Ryan Braun.
Wow.
And according to sources, A-Rod is going to try to appeal it in some way. And also there's another monkey in the wrench, you could say, that the Yankees are partnering with Major League Baseball on this. They're cooperating, quote unquote, but the Yankees may get out of paying A-Rod's remaining ridiculous salary. So A-Rod may have a case against the Yankees, that they might be partnering with Major League Baseball just to get out of paying him and suspending him for a long period of time. So we're about to undergo that entire mess there, Ari. So I think the Ryan Braun suspension may go by the wayside about a month from now.
All right, well, thank God for A-Rod that he's going to deflect some attention. He did at least one good thing in his life. Last question about Ryan Braun, and then we'll go more details about A-Rod. Ryan Braun's father, I've been told, is a Holocaust survivor, so I'm sure this more sensitive for him. I mean, it's sensitive for all of us, the two of us being Jews and Jewish listeners, but to survive the Holocaust, you think you're in a new world, and you kind of see things don't change. As Andy Gershman said on my Facebook wall, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So just kind of go at that angle about Ryan Braun's father. I believe moved to Israel after the Holocaust, but he did survive the Holocaust, and now he sees that anti-Semitism hasn't gone away.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying that earlier. It's going to remain. Just like anti-Semitism will remain, just like racism will remain. Yeah, it's not as prominent as it once was, and obviously, go back to the racism, you go back to the Martin Luther King days, and how far African Americans have come with their civil rights, and even if you go back to women in general, weren't allowed to vote, back in the early 1900s. So you see, progress has been made, but because these types of thoughts and these types of these feelings that are ingrained in people's body, they get passed down from generation to generation. It's still going to remain somewhat, and I think it'll be a long, long time before we see it completely eliminated, and I don't think it'll ever be completely eliminated. So that's a good point from that Facebook wall post, but I think that progression is slow, and that's just the way it goes because people are not quick to change, especially what is ingrained in them from when they were kids from their parents and grandparents. I think it's progression, but that's still going to remain, and I think it's just something that we have to deal with going forward, that people will have these thoughts, and it's up to us to, if you do confront somebody that has these feelings, to let them know, look, that's not the way we are, that's a stereotype, and you get to know them. And I actually have been able to change some people who have thought like that over the years back in high school and college, and it's a good feeling. They get to know you, and you're just like them. You're just a sports fan. You're not a Jewish sports fan. You're a sports fan. So, unfortunately, this kind of thing will remain, but I think as time goes on, it'll slowly start to dissipate.
All right, now let's talk about A-Rod. You mentioned that the Yankees worked in Major League Baseball. What has to happen for that contract to be null and void? And the Yankees, at this point, are on the books for over $100 million left on A-Rod's contract, even though A-Rod is, I believe, 38. What has to happen for the Yanks to not have to pay Alex Rodriguez that money?
Well, it'll have to be a suspension similar to Ryan Braun, where he's suspended without pay for a long period of time. And, again, as I alluded to earlier, A-Rod is very heavily involved in biogenesis. I mean, Ryan Braun bought some product, and that's pretty much the extent of his involvement. A-Rod was, taking shipments and making shipments out to people. He was heavily involved in biogenesis. And I think by him coming out and admitting he used steroids a couple of years ago, I was trying to save face because he knew that the storm was coming. So he was trying to beat the report to the punch a little bit. I think A-Rod could be seeing maybe not a lifetime ban, but if Ryan Braun got 65 games, I wouldn't be surprised if A-Rod is suspended for the remainder of his contract with the Yankees, and therefore the Yankees wouldn't owe him anything. But again, like I said, A-Rod will not go down without a fight because he is owed an awful lot of money. He wants to see at least some of that. So we'll see what happens. This is going to be a saga. Once the initial decision comes down to what A-Rod will get, which I fear will probably be a suspension of multiple seasons, then we're going to see what's going to happen. It should be very interesting.
All right, I'm a little confused. Let's get more details on this. Ryan Braun spent 65 games. This A-Rod situation where he admitted steroids a few years ago and this biogenesis thing, are they one in the same, or did A-Rod cheat twice? So talk a little bit about that.
I think the steroid use, from what I remember, the admission was just a general statement that he used when he was younger. You go back to his days with the Mariners and the Rangers. I think that's what he was talking about. The biogenesis, I think, might be part of that, but it also continued into his time with the Yankees. So I think he was trying to say that he cheated when he was younger and he was young and he made stupid decisions, but in reality, he has cheated pretty much his whole career. So
wow.
I think to answer your question, yeah, pretty much he cheated multiple times, yeah.
All right, now what's fascinating is generally with steroid users, they cycle on, cycle off. What happens is they play well, really well for a few years. They then get injured. Of course, Mark McGwire, textbook example of that. 98, hit 70 home runs. 99, hit 65. 2000, 2001, he's injured and retires. How come A-Rod was able to pretty much stay injury-free? He was healthy pretty much all of his career until the past few years. Is that what this biogenesis is about? Is it a special type of steroid that allows these athletes to continue to play injury-free and to stay healthy even though they're cheating?
Right, yeah, Biogenesis is an anti-aging company, and I think it's a little bit more in-depth, I guess you could say, than what McGuire, Sosa, Bonds were potentially taking. They were just taking HGH, and then you saw, like you mentioned, the dramatic tail-off of them being injured and then retiring. I think A-Rod was taking multiple supplements that basically allowed that not to happen because, again, Biogenesis is an anti-aging company. That's what they're not a steroid company. They're called anti-aging. So I think that's why A-Rod was probably able to do what he did, although now he's starting to get injured. It's starting to catch up with him a little bit, unless he's just off the juice. I think that A-Rod had maybe a new and improved way of cheating as opposed to McGuire, Sosa, and Bonds.
Now, it's very interesting because part of the thinking was that he picked this up in Texas because Texas kind of had that culture. He had Ivan Rodriguez, Jose Canseco played in Texas in the late 90s. So kind of the idea was there was a culture there that influenced A-Rod, and A-Rod was clean in Seattle. But you're saying there's a good possibility he cheated even while he was with the Mariners.
Yes, I think I'm trying to remember if he admitted that. I know he said that it was younger. But, yeah, you're right. The Rangers, it makes sense because of the players that were around Alex Rodriguez when he went to Texas.
Just to interrupt quick. Right, his original that press conference a few years ago, originally he said he just did it in Texas because he had that big. His excuse was I was 24 years old, I just signed a huge contract, there was a lot of pressure, and I wanted to live up to the contract, and that was his excuse. He said he had some cousin in Florida, blah blah blah, and he never took it in New York. So that's what he maintained, and so I just wanted to point that out. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I didn't quite remember exactly the wording there, so thank you for clearing that up. I think it's quite a possibility for him that he cheated in Seattle, and I think it's a very likely possibility that he cheated in New York.
Wow.
I would put more weight on New York than in Seattle. And again, back to my point of him coming out and admitting it, he knew there was going to be a storm coming. He was trying to beat it and say he only did it like a while ago. He's not doing it currently or that recently. But I think that was a lie, and I think he definitely used while he was with New York. Seattle, I can't say. I mean, he was definitely thinner. He does have natural power, natural ability. And if you look at Mark McGuire, he stood out as a rookie and a young guy with the A's. Then you could see he started to get much stronger towards the end of the A's, his time with the A's and then with the Cardinals. So it's possible that McGuire didn't take early either. So I would say that there's a chance probably he did not take in Seattle, but I would bet that he used in New York.
Wow. Okay, so the question is like this. How was it that the New York media didn't pick up this earlier? Because like with Giambi cheated. They eventually busted him, and he gave that press conference where he apologized, but he wasn't allowed to admit exactly what he did. That was as a Yankee. So they found that out. I mean, and I'm not saying that it was only New York media members that report this kind of stuff, but there's more media in New York, more pressure, more eyes on everybody. How could A-Rod be sneaking around, going to some biogenesis lab, and no one pick up on it? So did the media really, really screw this one up and not do their job in New York City?
It's possible. I mean, I'm not exactly sure, how he went to this place. I'm not sure how he got the shipments in and sent them out. I don't know. And even like with Texas, I'm not sure if they would have found out. I'm not comparing New York media to the Texas media, but he did come out and admit it really before any type of reports came out. So you could say the Texas media didn't really find that out either. But I think that there's always been speculation in my mind, since Texas and since New York, that he was a candidate to be using steroids because of the way he bulked up, because of the way he had just unbelievable power to all fields. And I think that maybe New York didn't want that black eye. The media did not want to come out and say, oh, all of our players are using steroids because Giambi just got busted. So, that's quite a possibility as well.
Also, that team that lost to the Red Sox 2004 featured Gary Sheffield, who almost won the MVP that year, and he was on that list as well. Not the Biogenesis list, but he was on the Mitchell report. So you had a bunch of players juicing those few years with the Yankees. What a shame. Now, my understanding is I've been told that the suspension on A-Rod, it will wait until the Yankees call him up to the major league level. Is that what you've been hearing? When do you think the suspension will take place in effect?
I'm not sure. I think that's what I heard too, that they were waiting until he was going to be called up to the Yankees 25-man roster to make the suspension. I think the reason for that is that they don't want to suspend him while he's not able to play, and then the perception would be, oh, A-Rod's getting off, he's getting suspended because he can't even play anyway. So
right.
I think that's probably the reasoning behind that. So from what I've heard, A-Rod is pretty much ready to play, and I think they're kind of playing a little chess game right now. Like A-Rod kind of ready to play, but he's not coming back up because he doesn't want to get suspended, and MLB is waiting for him to come up to suspend him. So I don't know how this is going to play out. As I said earlier, this is going to be a ongoing saga for months and months. I know Ryan Braun is the story now, but very soon something is going to have to break, and A-Rod's going to be suspended, and we're going to have to see how that plays out.
All right, now I saw Kurt Schilling on ESPN, former Lewis Live guest, of course, a few weeks ago, talking about how A-Rod may very well have played his last game as a New York Yankee. If he's called up, he's suspended, and they might void the contract. Give us your odds that A-Rod has played his last game as a Yankee.
I'd say they're pretty good. I would say it's better than 50-50. I'll go it's a 65% chance that he played his last game with the Yankees. The Yankees, obviously they have a lot of money. They have a very big fan base that are willing to pay high prices for tickets, and they get a lot of sellouts. They put butts in the seats.
Right.
But they don't want to pay an injured, cheating player. So
right.
I think they're going to try and get out of that contract. And if they can get out of it and it's null and void and they don't have to pay him and A-Rod's not a Yankee anymore, then I think that's the way it's got to be. So I think there is a good chance now that A-Rod will not play another game with the New York Yankees. And
to think that our last memories of A-Rod will be him flirting with the girl during Game 3 of the ALCS. So that's our last memories of A-Rod. Very fitting. All right, Ari, we're going to let you go, but give a plug for everything you do out in Philadelphia.
Well, it's still the summer, so a little down for what I'm doing, but we've got the Sports Fan Base Network. Go to www.sportsfanbase.com for more information. We're a high school sports network. We'll be covering Philadelphia area high school sports, and you can check it out on the web. We broadcast live and on demand. And we'll be starting with some Philadelphia area high school football at the end of August. So anyone in Israel or around the world wants to check out some good Philadelphia high school football, you can go there and check out our listing. And then before we know it, our college basketball season will be around the corner. And Drexel basketball will certainly be a hot topic, and I'll be down there quite a bit calling the men's and women's basketball games for Drexel University. All
right, so good stuff. We're looking forward to all that. Ari Bluestein, thank you for being on Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Ari.
Be well. All right, that was Ari Bluestein, our Philadelphia insider, breaking down the Ryan Braun steroid scandal along with the anti-Semitic tweets, and, of course, breaking down Alex Rodriguez's situation, if you want to call it that. It's a little bit more than that. It's a little more of a soap opera drama. A-Rod just always seems to find problems. Yeah, so we'll see if the contract is null and void, and we'll talk more about that with Alex Griffel, will be our in-studio special guest in about 30 minutes. We'll take a break. On the other side from Israel Lacrosse, Scott Neiss. This is Lewis Live at IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hey folks, Kagan here. As you know, I'm always staying on top of the fitness world, keeping up with current trends. One form of exercise that's been around for ages and is currently being rediscovered is suspension bodyweight training. So if you're looking for a way to get in shape, improve your health, and train your body to move in new ways, then the X1 by Israel Gym Systems is for you. Find out more on our website at www.israelgym.com or look for our page on Facebook, Israel Gym Systems X1. Israel Gym X1, Higia Hazman.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years of coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio. And again, we appreciate everyone listening to us on Justin TV, justin.tv/Israel Sports Radio, DOTCOM. Great segment with Ari Bluestein, our Philadelphia insider. And we have much more to come. Brin-Jonathan Butler, the director of Split Decision, the story of Guillermo Regano. He'll be on in about 1 hour. Very special in-studio guest, Alex Griffel, to break down the steroid biogenesis scandal. We talk about that in detail with Ari Bluestein. We'll continue with Alex. But on the line right now, we're going to switch gears to talk a little lacrosse. Right now, from Israel Lacrosse, let's give a warm Lewis Live welcome to Scott Neiss. Scott, how you doing out there?
Good, Ari. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure is mine. Let's talk about some of the success that you guys had, most notably in the past few weeks. You guys have had big crowds in Ashkelon playing the Turkey national team. Tell us about that experience and how that was a turnout for the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of the culmination of a lot of work with our development team down in Ashkelon, with Matt Cherry, Noah Miller, Seth Mahler, and of course David Lasday. The three latter guys being NCAA college lacrosse players that moved to Israel for us to help develop the sport here. So we've really worked hard to develop in Ashkelon specifically and pilot our youth efforts there, and with our camp down there and everything else we're doing, and it culminated in a great crowd and a great event for us.
All right, let's get the raw numbers. Let's talk Turkey. How many people came to the game between Turkey and your boys, the Israel lacrosse team?
It was a pretty packed house. I mean, the stadium's not huge. I think it holds about 500 or so, but I think we had about a little over 300 people there. Not sure the exact number, but it was free admission, and we had entertainment and local youth groups, and I think the most important thing is that the people that did come, they were enthusiastic. They knew our players' names, especially the guys that were coaching them down there, and our core group down in Ashkelon of the kids that are actually playing. We walk around and we see lacrosse sticks in shopping malls, and that's moving the needle in our perspective. And there's I think everybody in Ashkelon knows what lacrosse is now, at least, and we'll keep working towards getting homegrown players out of Ashkelon.
All right, now talk about the idea and the situation of having the game in Ashkelon. Usually these games are in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, what have you. What was the reason and decision to have this game in Ashkelon?
Sure. I think it was a conscious decision on our part that we wanna first of all pick a city that is underserved with sports and is the right size for us. And those were the first two considerations that went into it. Ashkelon has a population of about 130,000 compared to Tel Aviv or the Greater Jerusalem area with over 1 million each, and we just felt that we couldn't really make a dent in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem yet. But if we focus our efforts on one small coastal city, we can really move the needle and really make that city lacrosse crazy. And that's our goal, is to go down there and make it work in Ashkelon, and instead of Israel lacrosse, we're Ashkelon lacrosse. If we can make it work there, we have the formula for other cities.
Ashkelon is a nice little city, very suburban, a lot of infrastructure that could be there, a lot of potential. They had the Israel Super League All-Star game in 2012 in Ashkelon, so I got to go out there and check out the city. They're consistently hit by bombs, so it is nice. They can have a distraction like basketball, like lacrosse. So kudos to you on that. Let's talk about the Men's World Championship goal 2014. You had tryouts a few weeks ago at Wingate. Tell us a bit about that. Tell us your turnout.
Yeah, it was great. We had over 80 players, about mixed equally from Israeli players and Jewish players from abroad that flew over to try out. Our entire coaching staff was together for it. We had evaluators, we had referees, a lot of folks from the United States that came in, and the referees that came over. Al Blau, Stu Milner did a fantastic job, not only officiating at the tryouts and the league games that surrounded it, but making efforts to train local officials for us, and ultimately that's important to us if we're going to have sustainable lacrosse in country. So it was a great event, and I think we saw what we needed to see out of those players, and we have some very tough decisions to make because obviously anyone that flies over and makes a dedicated trip to Israel to try out for the national team is committed to us, and that's what we're looking for. I think even above ability, we're looking for people with great character and people that are committed to the development of the sport in Israel. And we did a lot of interviews. We're going to continue to do a lot of interviews and make sure that we get the right mix of people that we think are good investments to make in them, because hey, they might move to Israel after college or in the next 1 or 2 years of their life, even if it's for a month or a year, and not permanent, but they might move to Israel and be someone that is important to our program as a coach. Ultimately, we're looking for people that will live in country and help us on our mission here.
All right, so you mentioned over 80 of the tryout. What number do you need to get that to, and by when? What's the deadline on that?
We're going to cut to 40 probably by the end of this year, and then that'll be our 40-man travel roster. The actual championship is a 23-man roster, so we're going to train with 40 and bring 40 to the World Championship. We can scrimmage ourselves that way, and that's the right number, we think, for practice. It's common to what the U.S. national team does and a lot of other programs, but the actual game day roster is 23, so we'll cut to 40, and then we'll eventually trim to 23, and we'll play in Denver as one big 40-man roster while we're training. With the Vail Lacrosse shootout, we want to train in the high altitude, and we'll get some exhibitions against some other countries before the World Championship kicks off. But when the actual championship starts, we're 23, and the other 17 will play in a side festival against club teams from the United States. So we've got some work to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I do not want to be in your position, no offense, but to cut from 80 to 23 for a championship roster, basically, you're going to have to tell 75% of the kids who traveled out there that they won't be playing on the championship team. That's a tough decision. That's a tough task for anybody.
Yeah, it is. But, I think everyone that came and tried out, whether they make this team or not, I think we gave them a really neat, unique experience coming to Israel and developing the sport in Israel. A lot of them worked with our youth programs in Ashkelon and elsewhere, and a lot of them, it was their first trip to Israel. So for us to use lacrosse as a platform to bring Jews to Israel is a good thing, and we're going to continue to do things like that.
All right, so you had to shorten down to 23, so good luck to you on that. And also, let's talk about the plans of these players that are accepted when they train, because they go back to college in the United States. Do you have them on a certain training regimen? You say, if you're going to play on this national team, I need you to run X amount of days. I need you to do this, do that. Do you talk to them about the training? Because you're not going to be hovering over them. You're not going to be babysitting them. They're going to have to be responsible adults and train on their own for this national team. So how does that all work out?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we just kind of went through and learned with our women's national team. We played in the World Cup last week, and the 6 months leading up, the expectation, the Israel-based players are training with us, so that's all good. But players from abroad are with their women's program, and will probably be consistent on this. The expectation was that if you're a collegiate athlete, you're off the hook because your NCAA training regimen is probably sufficient, and the players that were post NCAA or in their adult life, we sent out weekly training regimens that they had to hit, and checked in on them. And every Monday that thing rolled in, and people were doing it. I can tell you, people were doing it because our team showed up fit and ready to play. And I think there's an expectation when you're playing on the world stage, when you're playing in a world championship event, that you need to be at the right fitness level, or you're letting your teammates down.
Yeah, obviously a good point there, and I wish that the professional players in the 4 major sports in the United States would have that same type of commitment. You see players all the time in the offseason balloon up, get out of shape when they're making $20-30 million a year, so it's great to see these kids have the commitment to Israel. This is a Jewish country, Scott, so let's talk finances. The trip to Denver, how is that being financed? Do the kids have to raise the funds themselves? Are you looking for sponsors? Tell us about all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously looking for sponsors. We're completely privately funded as an organization, so we're going to continue to turn over every rock we can find to keep the train moving. There'll be a minimum expectation, a minimum fundraising goal for each player, but we basically ask each player to fundraise to the best of their ability, and we're not really like, it's not pay your own way. We're going to take the best team, and not the team that we can afford. We're going to take the team that we want, and the team of people that we know are committed to us and committed to developing lacrosse in Israel.
All right, and last question about the men's. At this time, the men's are not currently ranked worldwide. I was told that whenever the ranking takes place, they'll be about 12th based on their European Championship performance. Tell us what needs to happen for the Israel team to be officially ranked.
Oh, after Denver's World Championship, we'll get a world ranking.
Okay.
Our women's team just played in our first Women's World Championship, and we got our world ranking yesterday. That our women's program is ranked 8th, and we're really proud of that. The ranking is solely based upon finish in world events. So our European finish, we won't get an official world ranking from that, but based on how we did in Europe, we're expected to, as you mentioned, be seated around 12th. But until we get our actual Denver finish in that World Championship, we won't have a world ranking. So we're hoping to do better than 12th, and we're hoping to put together a team that can potentially compete for a medal. So we'll see, and we're excited about the players that we've seen. We're excited about our coaches. We're excited about our program. We got a lot of good days ahead.
All right, let's talk about the women's team more in detail. You mentioned their 8th place finish in the World Cup games. That was in Canada. Scott, I had the girls on about a month ago. Very, very nice girls. I had on Amanda and Talia. Very, very nice girls. Tell us, the 8th place finish, was that disappointing to them, or they thought kind of where they're at that was a proper finish?
It was fantastic. I mean, we came in unranked, seated at the bottom of the pool. It was our first women's event, period, not just our first World Cup for the program. So, we came in, we hit all our goals in pool play, beating Germany, beating Scotland, and we lost in overtime to Japan, and that got us a 10 seed in the playoffs. And after we upset New Zealand in the first playoff game, we're playing in a quarterfinal match in a World Cup event against the second-ranked team in the world, the Canadians, in Canada, in front of a crowd of 3,000 or 4,000 people on national TV, and that moment was unbelievable. So we're there, and the first half went pretty well for us. We were down 6-4 at halftime, and then we kind of lost sight of it in the second half. But I mean, I'm so proud of this team and the girls for all the work they put in. From there to to make it to the quarterfinals of a World Cup event and have a top 8 world ranking for Israel is something that everybody's proud of, and we're gonna hang our heads high.
All right, Scott, I got to get more details about the game on Friday. Last Friday, Israel loses 9-7 to Scotland, but in overtime. I usually don't see an overtime lacrosse game. That must have been very exciting. I'm sorry I was not there to see that. So give us some more details about that tough loss on Friday.
Oh, sure. That was a placement game. So after we fell to Canada, we were in a bracket with Scotland, and then on the other side of the bracket was Haudenosaunee, which is the Iroquois team, and I believe Wales was on the other side of the bracket. So we played Scotland. It was the second time we played Scotland, and we beat them 13-6 earlier in the tournament, and they came out firing, and we forced overtime. It was an odd scene where the game started outdoors and then lightning moved it indoors, and they had a lot of support there, and in overtime they were able to pull it out. So a tightly contested game and a really good team, and I think we got a new rival over there, so we're looking forward to hopefully seeing them again in Europe.
All right, very nice scene. Now, this is on your website. Everyone can check that out, lacrosse.co.il, regarding the women's team. I like this exchange between the Israel team and for this country listening, I'm going to mispronounce this, the Haudenosaunee women's national lacrosse team. They exchanged gifts on Friday. That was right before Shabbat, and they're going to have a game in the fall, an exhibition game. So tell us a bit about that scene. That was very touching to read about that and look at that picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were scheduled after we lost to Scotland and the Haudenosaunee. You're close enough on that.
There you go.
They're Iroquois team, so they represent the tribes of the Six Nations of Native Americans in the Northeast United States and Eastern Canada, and a really neat story about a small population that actually invented the sport of lacrosse. And they're really a phenomenal team for the size of their population. So, but also a group of people that's been pushed around in their history, and we've got a lot in common with them actually. But they lost to Wales by 1 goal. We lost in overtime to Scotland. So we were scheduled to meet them in the 7th place game on Saturday, and the FIL was not willing to accommodate a reschedule of that match. So we accepted a forfeit, and they were very gracious about it, and they called us and asked us if we could exchange gifts back in the dorms, and we took some pictures with them. Some of their coaches and players actually sat in on our we did a little Shabbat service after sundown, and some of their players sat in and sang with us, and it was just a really nice moment, sharing cultures between two cultural groups that probably don't cross paths all that often.
Yeah,
so it was neat, and we're really happy with the fact that they're willing to play us in September in an exhibition game, and we're working out the details on that. But that'll offer kind of finality for the game that we weren't able to get in at the World Cup, and it was nice. It was we played something like 8 games in 9 days, and it's just a lot of lacrosse, a lot of tired legs, and we were both in the same position. And 7th or 8th place is not really all that important to us, but being able to share that moment with the Haudenosaunee, I think, is something that was really special, and everybody's gonna leave on a high note with that.
That's very beautiful to see. I mean, that's part of the idea behind sports, is to bridge different gaps between the cultures, different religions, and that was very, very touching to see. I like that. It's a very good class by them to contact you guys and to exchange gifts. Let's talk about the Shabbat policy, because that was recently posted on the website. Give us the official Israel Lacrosse Association policy regarding play on Shabbat or play not on Shabbat.
Yeah, I mean, our policy is pretty straightforward. We're not going to do it. We think it's important for us to take a stand and represent what we feel is important to us and our country. And ultimately, we want lacrosse to be the national sport of Israel. That's our goal. That's our long-term vision. If we're going to do that, we need to make sure we're promoting the game to the whole of the population, and we're not isolating anybody. Every step of the way, we need to think, hey, if there was a modern Orthodox player on this team, would they feel excluded? Would we don't want to have a situation ever where someone might be uneasy about playing lacrosse because they want to put themselves in a situation. They don't want to put themselves in a situation where they would feel like they're letting the team down by not competing or anything like that. And it's a complicated issue, but ultimately it's something that everybody bought into, everybody felt strongly about, and that's the precedent we want to set for our program. So we're going to continue to do that, and we've had some healthy dialogue with the FIL going forward about how to accommodate us. I know, the Baseball Association, they schedule around it, and there's no reason that reasonable accommodations can't be made. So we're hopeful that we won't have this issue in the future. And it was a bit of a painful week, sticking to that and standing firm on our values that we're not going to compete on our last Saturday. It certainly would potentially be an uneasy situation if we were playing a team and they were offended, they wanted to get their last game in, and we need to be conscious of all the kind of moving parts in this. But I think ultimately we're really proud of the stance we took, and I think it all's well that ended well, and we had a great week, and it was an important part of our week.
Scott, again, really call kavod to you on that, sticking to your guns. I know that's not simple. It's not always easy to do that, but as someone who grows up in the United States, like we both did, we know there are times where these things come up where you have to decide between principle or something that's the easier road. So call kavod on doing the right thing. Big Kiddush Hashem on that. Last couple questions for you. I want to go back to the women's team and a lot of big, bright spots, but I want to talk about the goal playing of Julia, 9 saves, and tell us what that means in lacrosse. For those who don't know, to allow 9 goals, you might think, well, she must not have played so good. But in lacrosse, there are more high-scoring games. So talk about her play, in particular the game on Friday that went to overtime.
Oh yeah, she's phenomenal, and in that Friday game, she saw a lot of rubber, and she stopped a lot of it. So I think if it's hard to maybe picture in lacrosse, but you got a big goal and you face a lot of shots, and a 50% save percentage is phenomenal. Julia, throughout the tournament, I think she might have seen more minutes than any goalie ever, being. She was the only goalie on our roster. We had an emergency backup.
Wow.
But she played literally every minute in goal for 8 games for us. And for someone who played college lacrosse and was a backup pretty much her whole career in college, she stepped in. And we also have probably one of the smaller goalies in the world. She's not a big presence in the cage, but her stick is really good, and she reacts and she's able to stop a lot of balls. But really just an amazing person and an amazing goalie, an amazing leader. Really a good person and a good person that is involved in our program, and she's someone in particular that we're pretty hopeful. We're optimistic that she'll relocate to Israel and help us with the program here. So. We're going to pick up our conversations with her on that, and hopefully she'll be a staple for Israel Lacrosse for years to come.
Julia was the third guest on my show about a month ago. Very funny. We had a discussion about nasty injuries. So she said as a goalie, it might not be as common, but she talked about she takes a couple of bruises. It's a very physical. Very physical game, and these are nice girls, but very tough girls as well. Last question, I believe, for you. The website is lacrosse.co.il. If people listening want to contribute anyway, tell us how they can go about doing that.
Oh, yeah. If you go to israellacrosse.com, goes to the same place.
Okay.
But there'll be a big button with a picture of our women's team when you log on. So if you want to make a contribution, you can click through that and then click any player's name, and there's an opportunity to donate. I think 25 to 100 are the suggested amounts, but you can type in any amount. $1 or more than 100 would be awesome too. But anyone that wants to help our cause, it's really it's all about getting kids playing. It's all about getting equipment here, paying for coaches, and the youth development that we're doing in Ashkelon. That's where pretty much all our funds go, and we appreciate any contribution, big or small, through our website.
All right, you know what? I have to apologize. I know I said that would be the last question. This is the last question. I just took a look at the front page. I have to ask about this. The women's team played on 140-degree Fahrenheit turf. Was that a joke? Is that something to get people's attention?
Wow. It was a sauna. The turf just it radiated heat, and if you kneel down, you could see the heat radiating off of it. And for a team with we have 18 players, and there's 12 on the field at once, so you don't have a lot of subs to work with. It was quite a week. It was unusually hot in Oshawa, and we're happy that we trained in Tel Aviv because
preparation.
That helped our cause.
Yeah.
Scott,
doing the Maccabi games this week in Petah Tikva, I complained about the heat over there, and it's not 140 Fahrenheit, it's about 95, but wow, I can't even imagine that, playing athletic game like Lacrosse. Well, good. Congratulations to the women's team and to the men's team and to yourself as well. You're the one that makes it happen for Israel Lacrosse. Thank you for being on Lewis Live. We will be in touch.
Thanks, Harry.
Be well. Scott Neiss from Israel Lacrosse breaking it down. Oh, my God, 140 Fahrenheit. I can't even imagine that on that turf like that. Women's team gets 8th place in the World Cup. Men's team next year will hopefully be ranked around 12th in the world. And Israel Lacrosse has only been around since the summer of 2011. I had the first interview in studio with Matthew Markin and some of the gentlemen, and they've gone such a long way in only 2 years. And the main reason for that was the guest who just came on now, Scott Neiss. We're going to take a commercial break in a few minutes, but before we do, just because I can and I own the station, I'm going to play Randy Moss's One Clap because it's hilarious. It's got nothing to do with what we talked about, but it's just that funny. This was made by DJ Steve Porter. This was his classic masterpiece. He does a lot of different YouTube videos. He did the one about Tim Tebow, All He Does Is Win. He's got one about Allen Iverson's Practice, but this was certainly his masterpiece. Randy Moss's One Clap by DJ Steve Porter. We'll take a commercial break, and after that, very special in-studio guests, my main man, the play-by-play commentator for the Baseball Maccabi of 2013, Alex Griffel. That'll be on at 8 o'clock, so stay tuned. This is Lewis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
The Minnesota Vikings have selected Randy Moss.
Well, before I get to questions, man, I'd like to say something.
Everybody, one clap.
For your 84 jerseys out. I'm back home for your 84 jerseys out. This is going to be a fun ride. This is going to be a fun ride.
Everybody, one clap.
I'm going to play when I want to play, do what I want to do. I'm going to say what I want to say. Did I say anything stupid today? My role is to take the ball deep, take the top off the defense. Take the ball deep, take the top off the defense.
If I can't get to it, nobody can get to it.
I don't shine shoes, I don't tape ankles, I don't cut checks.
Great cash, homie.
I don't shine shoes, I don't tape ankles, I don't cut checks.
Great cash, homie. Everybody, one clap, one clap, one clap, one clap.
For your 84 jerseys out. I'm back home for your 84 jerseys out. I'm here to play. You can print it, I don't care how you put it on your ink.
Everybody, one clap.
I'm gonna play when I wanna play. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, do what I wanna do. Next question.
You're looking at this opportunity to revitalize your career.
I don't need to revitalize nothing. Everybody know who I am. This probably will be my last year here as a Patriot. You guys tell the people, Moss this, Moss that, Moss this, Moss that, Moss this, Moss that. Are you gonna come out today, Moss? This, Moss that, Moss this, Moss that, Moss this, Moss that, Moss this, Moss that. For your 84 jerseys out. I'm back home for your 84 jerseys out. This is gonna be a fun ride. This is gonna be a fun ride.
Everybody, one clap.
I'm gonna play when I wanna play. I'm gonna say what I wanna say. Do what I wanna do what I wanna do. You know, I am human. I do have emotions like everybody else.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hey folks, Kagan here. As you know, I'm always staying on top of the fitness world, keeping up with current trends. One form of exercise that's been around for ages and is currently being rediscovered is suspension bodyweight training. So if you're looking for a way to get in shape, improve your health, and train your body to move in new ways, then the X1 by Israel Gym Systems is for you. Find out more on our website at www.israelgym.com or look for our page on Facebook. Israel Gym Systems X1. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis 11 Israel Sports Radio, here at 9 p.m. We're here until 10 p.m. Our thanks to Scott Neiss from Israel Lacrosse. And before Scott, we had on Ari Bluestein, Philadelphia Insider, to break down the Ryan Braun suspension and the upcoming suspension of Alex Rodriguez. Very special in-studio guest right now, my partner in crime for the Maccabi Games, play-by-play man Alex Griffel. Alex, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Ari.
Absolutely. And so you thought you would get away from me, only spend time with me in the morning. Here you are at nighttime with me. How does that feel?
Well, you invited me, so I came. I was in Jerusalem anyway, so I figured I'd stop by the studio and say hi and get a little bit more exposure from not just the Maccabi Games, but also on your show.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate your time and appreciate you here at studio. And real quick, before we talk about Ryan Braun and Alex Rodriguez, you came in specifically for the Maccabi Games. You go to school in Washington University and are from New York, and you flew in to specifically do the games.
Yeah, I'm a college student at Washington University in St. Louis. I got in touch with Peter Kurtz and Chaim Katz, the current and former president of the Israeli Association of Baseball. Got in touch with them about 6 months ago or so, asking them if there was anything I could come to Israel and volunteer, help out with Israeli baseball. And they said, we're doing this broadcast, which is something I've been involved in college and I'm really interested in. They said, we're doing this broadcast for the Maccabi Games, and we'd love for you to come help out. And then we were discussing over a period of about 3 months, travel logistics and a whole bunch of things like that. And I asked Chaim exactly what kind of capacity he wanted me to help out, and he said, look, we'd love for you to do the play-by-play for the broadcast. And I was like, sure. And so I'm here doing that. Yeah,
excuse me. Whenever you say to an Israeli, can I volunteer? They're like, yes. It's like, can I volunteer? Yes. So you definitely opened up. They weren't going to say no to that. And you flew out. What great commitment for you to fly out. You've been happy so far with what you've seen in the baseball we've seen during this week.
Oh, the tournament has been a blast. It way exceeded my expectations so far. I can't tell you how much fun it's been. I mean, you sit next to me every day in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, it's a ball.
It's been so much fun. We have seen, 2 no-hitters. We have seen a record game between Israel and the U.S.
We almost saw a no-hitter today, and the team would have lost.
Today was interesting. We saw one side pitching a no-hitter and the other side pitching a shutout, and the side that was pitching a no-hitter was losing 4-0. It was crazy.
Yeah, we still haven't seen a home run yet. Of course, semifinals are tomorrow. By the way, everyone listening should listen tomorrow, 10 a.m. Israel time, 3 a.m. East Coast, midnight on the West Coast. Semifinals between Canada and Israel. That should be a lot of fun. Winner will play the United States on Friday at 11 a.m. Last question about the Maccabi before we go on to professional ranks. Just how impressed were you with what Peter Kurtz said? We talked about this off the air. He has huge dreams. He wants winter ball in Israel. He wants a native-born Israeli player in the major leagues, and he wants 8 Israeli players to be on the WBC qualifying team. So talk about what's realistic, what's not realistic.
Well, they had 3 players on the Maccabi, on the WBC team last time when they were playing in the qualifying round. They're hoping to get invited back, and so far that's been the pinnacle of the Israeli baseball experience so far, is the invitation to the World Baseball Classic qualifiers. But look, they're trying to raise money to get and build a field and basically the equivalent of a minor league complex in Ra'anana. They're trying to raise money for that right now. And so if they can get that and get a real complex here and something that is very professional and can support a type of minor league thing, they could have winter ball here within the next 10 years. I could definitely envision that happening. You know, it's a nice climate here all year round. It's definitely something to look at. And I was very impressed with what I heard from Peter Kurtz.
Yeah, that really pumped me up. Peter Kurtz, very nice to give us an interview yesterday. And we had some few celebrities throughout this tournament. We had the Ambassador of Canada and Ambassador of the United States. Earlier today, we had the CEO of JNF all coming in attendance. That's at Baptist Village, by the way, tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Petah Tikva. Let's get to the Ryan Braun scandal. Now, first of all, as I've discussed earlier, Ryan Braun is not technically Jewish. I just want to point that. See, when he wins the MVP, then we want to claim he's Jewish. And
he's
now
Jewish
with this,
according to some people.
Yeah, well, according
his
to
father is Jewish.
His father is Jewish, born in Israel. I was told a Holocaust survivor. I don't understand how that's mathematically possible because Ryan Braun's 29 years old. But that's what I've been reading, and that's what I've been told. And Ryan Braun, according to Jewish law, not Jewish, but his name is the Hebrew Hammer. Many people think he is Jewish, especially some of these tweets.
Well, here's kind of what was the interesting thing about, they were talking about Ryan Braun playing in the World Baseball Classic potentially for Team Israel.
Yeah.
For the World Baseball Classic, the rules are really, really lax for being able to qualify to play for different teams. To play in the World Baseball Classic for a specific team, you don't need to be a citizen of that country. You only need to be eligible for citizenship in that country. And so for Israel, that's
anyone with one grandparent.
One Jewish grandparent, so Ryan Braun clearly qualifying for that.
Yeah, so anyways, the irony is generally with anti-Semitic people, especially people who tweet this stuff, they're not too smart. It's not like they read the Talmud to figure out what is a halacha Jew and what is not. But
that's not even the point.
Let's read some of these tweets. It's pretty nasty. Here we go. Ryan Braun really pulled a Jew move. Ancestors taught him well. First of all, sir, it's his ancestors.
I know you happen to have one more character. You could have written his instead of he. Come on.
Yeah, come on. You know you have that in there. Dear Ryan Braun, bird in hell, you dumb Jew. Who said he's dumb? I mean, he got very clever, actually, to cheat for years.
The fact that people are doing this, that they could turn this to anti-Semitic, attack his character, say that he is, a cheater, hate him on the field, all that stuff, fine. I can understand that as a baseball fan, but don't attack his Judaism. Come on, that's crazy.
Great. Another famous Jew who lied to get ahead. Ryan Braun, I welcome you to the prestigious company of Bernie Madoff. Now, that was well written, at least.
That's very articulate.
So far, that's really the best one. Here's another one. Ryan Braun, you had this coming, you Jew. See, why is it that Jew is an insult? Like, I am a Jew. I don't know if you ever seen the South Park movie, but in 99 or wherever it came out, Cartman, everyone thought they were going to die, and Cartman says to Kyle, "Hey, Kyle, I'm sorry I called you a big dumb Jew. You're not a Jew." And Kyle's like, "No, I am a Jew." And Cartman's like, "Don't be so hard on yourself." Like, I don't know why Jew is considered an insult, but this gentleman certainly thought it was. I'm saying that he had this coming, that he's a Jew.
There was a I forget which special it was in, but Louis C.K., the comedian, had a joke in one of his specials where he was talking about different cultures and the insults used for them. He said that Jews are the only culture where Jew is both the acceptable thing to call someone and the unacceptable thing to call someone. It's just the way you put emphasis on the word. You could say someone, "Oh, he's a Jew," or "Yeah, he's a Jew."
He's a Jew, yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating word. I don't know how it got to a point. Words are like that. Insults are like that. I mean, I'll just to go off real quick. The most notorious anti-Semitic slur is the word kike. That word occurred, I was told, because it is short for the word circle. I believe the German word circle. I'm not sure of this. And when the Jews came to Ellis Island, I heard one is they were wearing yarmulkes, which are circular on the head, and when they walked in Ellis Island, they started referring to them as kikes, and then that's where it came from. Now, that doesn't sound so nasty, but it's a fighting word.
Right, that doesn't nearly have as much of a negative history as, like, for example, the N-word for black people.
Right, which technically it means someone who is incompetent, but as far as the word kike, like, imagine getting in a fight because someone called you a circle. You see what I mean? But that's not the way words are.
It's about the connotation, though. It's not about the actual definition.
Exactly. These are all about the connotation. Here's a couple more tweets. Of course, Ryan Braun took steroids. He's a Jew. And last I checked, sports aren't really their thing. That's at least funny.
Oy.
That was from Tyler Winslet, by the way. So, Tyler, if you're listening, I'm sure you are. Congrats on that one. This is from Justin Spisto. Ryan Braun, typical sneaky Jew.
Yeah, by the way, if you're going to be tweeting things, just remember, people know who you are. You have a Twitter handle, but you're not anonymous.
It's so stupid. You are not that difficult to find. And yes, the Mossad will find you, and they will tell you that you've been very naughty, and they will wave their finger at you, and that's about it. Here's another one. This is in caps, so he's really serious about this one.
Exclamation points, too.
They finally got that Jew, Ryan Braun. Again,
Hashtag cheater.
Hashtag cheater. So we talked about, again, that this time because he put in caps with emphasis, that Jew is an insult there. Here's another one. This is at Team Nola. This is from Mr. Stelia Girl. It's a weird Twitter name, I believe. Ryan Braun's Jew ass just got suspended. Come on, man. Can't be juiced. It might be the Jew way to cheat. That's so... Okay. How many Jews have cheated? I don't get with the Jew way to cheat that only Jews do steroids and not anybody else. I don't even know what that means. That wasn't too smart there. This one is from Not Andy Dirks. He tweeted at Fake Dirks, and here's another one. Bye, Ryan Braun, you cheating piece of blank. And then in caps, can't Jew your way out of it this time.
This is ridiculous.
And one more. By the way, I could actually make an argument he kind of Jewed his way out of it a little bit. We'll talk about the technicalities of his suspension in a few moments.
I'm not touching that one.
All right, last one from Just Incredible. This is all in caps. Nothing.
That's an intelligent name.
Yeah,
Just Incredible.
Yeah, I like that. I like that Twitter handle. This is all in caps. Nothing good ever happens to Jews. Haha. F you, Ryan Braun, you cat Jew. All right. That's enough of that notorious anti-Semitic stuff. But let's talk about the technicalities of Ryan Braun's suspension. 65 games.
Yeah.
That's historic because usually the first offense is 50. Tell us about the logistics behind that.
So far under the joint drug agreement between Major League Baseball and the Players Association, what's standard is that a player, the first time they fail a drug test, they have the chance to appeal, and then anytime you fail a drug test, you have a chance to appeal, and then if you lose on appeal, you get a 50-game suspension for the first-time offense, a 100-game suspension for a second-time offense, and then for a third offense, if you violate the drug policy for the third time or are determined to have taken something that is illegal, any kind of performance-enhancing drug, then the third time you are lifetime ban from baseball. But what happened with the Ryan Braun case, and I just read about this today, is that he was suspended for what is the end, effectively till the end of the Brewer season, including the postseason, left fielder for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he was suspended for till the end of the season, and so that comes out to 65 regular season games. And so I read today an interesting article that said that the way that breaks down is basically he was suspended he negotiated this with Major League Baseball that he's going to get a 50-game suspension. It's a standard for the first time that he's ever been found to have purposely taken steroids. The first time that they actually found something on him, and he won his appeal the first time, but we'll get to that in a second. And then the 15 extra games that round up to the 65-game suspension total is for when in 2011, when Ryan Braun was found to have elevated levels of synthetic testosterone, which is illegal. He appealed, which you have the right to do as a major league player, or as a player who has been found to take some kind of performance-enhancing drug. You have the right to appeal. He appealed, and he became the first player ever to win his appeal. He won that appeal on a technicality, and so the extra 15 games to make it 65 this time around is for the misconduct that occurred around that whole situation and for his trying to appeal and winning that appeal in 2011, because as we have now learned, clearly he did take something. He did take some kind of testosterone or some kind of other steroid. The exact details of that aren't known. And so as an extra penalty for doing what he did in 2011 and appealing that process and erroneously winning his appeal, despite the fact that he did it has come out that he took something, for that he gets an extra 15-game penalty.
All right, now we see this in college football, like with Reggie Bush's Heisman or other players when they take money and they cheat. They take away the Heisman Trophy winner or they make the national championships null and void. Any chance Ryan Braun loses his 2011 MVP?
No, not going to happen. The records are still the records, whether you took a performance-enhancing drug or not. Look, Pete Rose has been banned from baseball for betting, but he still owns the hits record. No one's disputing that. That's not up in the air. I personally regardless of what's been going on with Chris Davis and trying to boost the whole Roger Maris as the real home run record thing, the fact is that in 2001, Barry Bonds hit 73 home runs. Whether he was taking something artificial to boost his muscles or not.
Whether he was taking, what do you mean? He did take it.
Fine. But regardless, the fact is that that he played the game every single day, went out there, and he managed to, over the course of 600 at-bats that he had in that season, hit 73 home runs. That happened. It's a fact. And I don't think you can put asterisks next to anything you want, but as it stands, that season happened. The writers, for Ryan Braun, the writers voted him the MVP. They're not going to change that. They're not going to go back and recast their votes and maybe give someone else the MVP. Matt Kemp was second in MVP voting that year. It's not going to happen.
By the way, I actually agree with that. I mean, not that I'm in favor of cheating, but I'm of a fan of once the game happens, it's done. I don't like when they go back in college basketball and they take down the banners or take away Heisman Trophy winners or other awards. Once it happens, it happens. If you're not smart enough to figure out the cheater when it happens, that's it. Too bad, so sad. They've got to get smarter about it, so I don't think the award should be taken away. I think it's going to be looked at a little weird. You might be, asterisk-like, but he's still the MVP that year. Besides, we don't even know, whatever it's worth, we don't know if Kemp was on something or not the year he was second place in the voting.
You know what I wouldn't be surprised about, though? If it came out that someone who is in the Hall of Fame took some kind of performance-enhancing drug.
About kicking them out?
I would not be surprised if, in the current climate, they kicked them out. Now, there are guys in there who have, cheated in other ways, guys who, through spitballs or scratched up the balls or cheated in some other way. There were definitely guys in there who were on other kinds of drugs, not performance enhancing drugs, and disreputable guys. Nobody liked Ty Cobb.
He was basically a KKK member.
So I wouldn't be surprised in the current climate if it came out that like someone in the 80s was taking steroids. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the writers today would feel that in the current climate it would be acceptable to kick them out. But with what's been going on, nobody who played in the steroid era, if the things continue the way they have been going, none of the home run hitters from the steroid era are going to get into the Hall of Fame.
It doesn't look like it. The writers are making a vote of we're not letting them in. They're making a stand. We saw that no one in the Hall of Fame this year.
They don't want to be in that kind of position that I just described, where a guy is in the Hall of Fame from that era, from the era we know that there were steroids being taken in, and then it comes out after the fact that he was taking steroids. And so I think that anybody who has even a hint of possibly, maybe they had a career spike during the late 90s, early 2000s, some kind of, there were a lot of guys in those years who had great power years or great high average
Luis Gonzalez
years.
from the Diamondbacks.
But guys who did, well, that's one.
57 home runs, but he didn't hit more than 30. I mean,
but there were a lot of guys who hit over 30 home runs or over 40 home runs and just didn't get attention because there were guys hitting over 50 and over 60 home runs. And, you look at some of those guys, maybe they were on something. These are guys who maybe would only have been, 15 or 20 home run guys hitting 30 at 35. You don't know. Guys like, for example, Luis Gonzalez, that one year he had very not in his career norm.
Luis Gonzalez, by the way, we'll also talk at the end of the segment of what should be done as far as stopping the steroid problem that apparently is not ended yet. But
not even close.
Regard to Luis Gonzalez, he was so funny because he was terrible with the Cubs and the Astros. I mean, he bounced around. He was a journeyman player. He gets to the Diamondbacks. All of a sudden, he has a 30-game hit streak, and he has 57 home runs in 2001, the year they win the World Series, has the hit off Mariano Rivera. And he was asked, how did you get better all of a sudden? He said, well, when I was younger, I was really pressured, and I would take all these batting practice hits. And he said, I stopped doing that. I stopped going to batting practice. I just relaxed, and I just started hitting. That was his explanation. And that's how he went to 57 home runs. He stopped doing batting practice.
Yeah, but you know what? It's the cloud of the steroid era still hangs over everything that happens today because you look at.
We're talking about this on the broadcast with Jeter.
Real Renaissance story. I'm not even talking about Derek Jeter. I'm talking about real Renaissance stories of guys who were journeyman players coming up now. When we thought until this biogenesis thing came out, we thought that baseball was almost completely done. Well, maybe not almost completely, but there was a lot less cheating in the game. And then you have guys coming up in like 2010, Jose Bautista.
Mm-hmm.
Did people
He had
really
54 home runs?
Right? Did people really believe at first that he just made some mechanical adjustment, started his swing earlier, got his foot down, and that was the whole difference at 30 years old of him hitting 12 home runs a year versus 50 home runs a year? No, nobody really believed that until he proved that it wasn't a fluke. People thought, he might have taken something. Chris Davis this year, he's always shown power potential. He's just never been given the chance to play every single day. Hit 33 home runs last year. He's already got 37 or 8. I don't even know at this point. Going into the All-Star break, he had 37. But, there's always going to be this cloud of suspicion, and especially now that the biogenesis scandal has broken, it's not going to end anymore. There's always going to be something else. Not only was Ryan Braun named in that scandal, you got guys like Nelson Cruz. He's probably the third biggest name on that list. Guys like Yasmani Grandal, catcher on the Padres, and a few others who I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, Johnny Peralta for the Tigers. That's another one.
Now, by the way, real quick before we continue the steroid scandal, as I mentioned, no one got in the Hall of Fame. The last voting from the writers, I definitely think Craig Biggio should have gotten in.
I agree.
Biggio has over 3,000 hits. That's supposed to be the rule. If you get 3,000 hits, you're in. Really no signs of steroids as far as we know.
Well, it didn't really show all the kind of power numbers you'd expect from someone in the 2000s.
And he was generally the leadoff hitter for the Astros, almost 300 home runs, very good for a leadoff hitter, and over 400 stolen bases. So I just thought with that voting, the writers were making a general stand saying we're not letting anybody in just to show or discuss, even the people who deserve to get in, like Biggio. And now I know there was some suspicion with Mike Piazza, but
nothing proven, nothing even accused.
Yeah, the only thing was they said he had a hairy back or something, like pimples on his back.
I don't know.
And they thought was from steroid juice or whatever. But
no one ever even accused Mike Piazza of doing anything.
He had the most home runs for any catcher in history.
Yes.
So that was
396 as a catcher.
That was a shame that he certainly did not get in. Now, in regards to the
did you see the New York Times sports section the Monday after the
voting?
Cooperstown came out with their voting? They just printed the front page of the sports section. The New York Times was just a blank page.
That's funny. I like that. That's very clever. New York Times is some good stuff every now and then. Not bad there. All right. In regards to A-Rod, we talked about this already. Bluestein. There's some rumors that they're waiting till he goes to the major league level before the suspension. Is that what you think will happen?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think that's going to be if that breaks down that way, that would be the maximal way to make a statement to everyone and to all of Major League Baseball that this guy's in the minor leagues. He's sitting down there comfortably. He's on his way back to the majors. He's rehabbing an injury, and the day he gets back to the majors, or the second day he gets back to the majors, we're gonna bring the hammer down and say that this guy is not going to be allowed to play Major League Baseball at this point because we have some evidence that says that he should not. He's going to be suspended, and then that's going to be negotiated. That kind of suspension there. But you know what?
Will he be able to negotiate like Ryan Braun, you think?
I think, and I was talking to you about this earlier, I think that what's happening with Ryan Braun, which is unprecedented, a player being able to negotiate outside of the 50, 100 lifetime ban kind of first, second, third offense formula, I think it's going to open a whole Pandora's box of guys being able to negotiate their scandals, because this is all murky. They were talking about earlier, a few months ago, well, if we come up with enough evidence from Tony Bosch that all these guys were receiving steroids or took steroids, well, can we pursue a 100-game suspension because, one for receiving the drugs and one for lying about it? Can we do that? Can I count as two offenses if we wind up with enough evidence? This was already months ago. And so what happened with Ryan Braun negotiating with his lawyers a 65-game suspension with Major League Baseball, I think we're going to see guys saying, well, fine, we'll take 50 games, but then instead of 100, we'll negotiate down to 80 or I think that with the Alex Rodriguez situation, I think Major League Baseball could potentially pursue a lifetime ban, and if that happens, the Yankees
won't have to pay the contract.
Will breathe a sigh of relief.
Yep. So the Yankees and Major League Baseball will be working together, and the Yankees are the biggest powerhouse in baseball. They're going to want Major League Baseball will make sure the Yankees are happy, so I think there is a good possibility of that happening.
That is Robinson Cano's next contract hanging in the balance.
Right. Robinson Cano will be rooting hard for A-Rod to fall and go down.
Oh.
Now, if A-Rod knows, though, as soon as he gets to the major league level, will be suspended, won't he just say, oh, my hip hurt, oh, because he's getting paid right now, even though he's in the minor leagues. He's getting paid that major league salary over $30 million. Why doesn't he just say, oh, my hip still hurts, like I'm not ready yet? Why doesn't he just delay it?
Because I don't think the Yankees would allow him to be in that kind of situation. If he's ready to go, they'll activate him.
Okay. All right, so they'll activate him, and he'll most likely be suspended.
Or you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if that situation comes up, he will be suspended from the minor leagues. He has a major league contract at the very least, even if he's in the minors or happens to be rehabbing. But I think that we'll see by September, or possibly even sooner, Alex Rodriguez will be received. If I don't know what kind of evidence they have, but if Ryan Braun, the poster boy of Milwaukee Brewers baseball, has received a suspension for wrongdoing based on a note in Tony Bosch's records, then I think
that's the only evidence, right?
Well, they have cooperation from Tony Bosch. So far, the only evidence that people really know of is that there was a note that said RB and a certain amount of money that he owed him, $20,000 to $30,000, and some other records. But Tony Bosch is cooperating with Major League Baseball, so we don't really know what he told them or what Ryan Braun's lawyers know that the public doesn't. But if Ryan Braun was taking something, I think we're going to see, at the very least, A-Rod and then a whole bunch of other massive suspensions.
I always think it's funny, these steroid guys, like Bonds and so on, they are paying only a few thousand. I know if Braun's $20,000 or $30,000, that would be higher. But these few $1,000s get these players extra, like $20 or $30 million. I just find that hilarious. I can't get over that. Like, they asked Bonds about that at the grand jury trial. They're like, why did you only pay this guy who helped your career a few thousand? He said something like, that guy's white and like black people have a hard time keeping their money. He said something really dumb and racist, but like dude, like I know you're cheating, so your morality is not that high, but take care of the guy that got you that new contract. That's my thoughts. All right, last few minutes with you, Alex. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about conclusions as far as solutions of what to do. I said this to you off air. I'll say it again. I'm of the opinion that if a person is caught once with steroids, even if it's an accident, even if they didn't know about the career in the clean, they didn't know what they're eating, some trainer had something they don't know, lifetime ban. No one, if that happens, no one's accidentally taking it, and the game will be cleaned up. You got to have zero tolerance. Look what happened, by the way, with the Black Sox in 1919. They gambled. They lost the World Series on purpose. They made the zero tolerance rule, and we haven't had a problem since Pete Rose, and they stuck their guns with Petey, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. So that's my opinion. I think you have to have zero tolerance. How would you solve the problem?
Look, I agree with that. I think that if you are discovered taking something, that the argument that I made a mistake, I didn't know, I screwed up,
I got confused,
that's not going to work. Now, there are other banned substances that I don't think that should happen with. Like if you take Carlos Ruiz, for example, the catcher for the Phillies, who was banned for 25 games, I believe, for taking amphetamines. Something to help him concentrate, which is understandable. Being a catcher, that's something you need to be. But if you're in the major league level, you need to have a prescription for those kind of drugs. I mean, in general, you need to have a prescription for those kind of drugs. But Major League Baseball needs to know that there are players with attention deficit disorders and things like that are perfectly allowed to take medications like Adderall or other kinds of ADD drugs. And that's perfectly A-okay. They got a prescription from a doctor. Major League Baseball is on top of that. But if you take something like that under the counter, I don't think that should warrant a lifetime ban, a first offense, blanket, anything. But if you're taking something like a synthetic testosterone or an estrogen blocker or something like that.
They can make a group of drugs, and if you take one of these drugs, you have a lifetime ban, even if it's on accident.
I agree. I think that they should completely do that. Look at the right fielder for the Mets, Marlon Byrd. He was taking some kind of drug called, I think it was tamoxifen, some kind of estrogen blocker, that artificially proportionally enhances your testosterone. He received a 50-game suspension, and 2 years later, he's back in the major leagues, and he is their second most valuable player on that roster for the New York Mets this year. Now, is he on something new? Is it just a matter of he made a mistake and he was given the chance to come back and playing every day, and so he's returning to his career norms, or did he actually take something and that's still affecting his performance today in a positive way? You have no idea.
I would like the idea that in the training room of every Major League roster, you have the trainer that would be in charge of this kind of stuff, and then let's say the catcher needs something for his attention deficit disorder. He goes to the trainer and says, I'm suffering from ADD. Can you give me something? And the trainer knows what's good as far as Major League rules and what's not, and you make him in charge. And this way, if there's any issues, you can go directly to the trainer, and none of this, I was confused, I went to GNC, I didn't know what I got, blah, 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 blah. You have the trainer be in charge. He's a medical professional. He knows what's good, what's not. All right, Alex, so we're out of time for this segment. Great stuff. Thank you for coming in studio. And, of course, you can listen to both of us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Israel time, 3 a.m. on the East Coast, midnight on the West Coast, at israelbaseball.co.il. Can click listen live, and should be a fun game tomorrow. Canada versus Israel semifinals.
Just one correction, Ari. It's baseball.org.il, not co.il.
Sorry about that.
So baseball.org.il, and there's a link to Maccabea scores, and you can listen to our live broadcast. And then archived as well after the games.
They're all archived, so check them all out. We did a fantastic job, and we'll do a fantastic job of the next 2 games. Also, on Facebook, every morning I post the link. So if you don't want to actually type, you can just click on the link. You'll click on Listen Live and hear both of us. Alex, great job, my man. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
We're going to take a commercial break. On the other side, filmmaker Brin-Jonathan Butler. This is Lewis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hey folks, Kagan here. As you know, I'm always staying on top of the fitness world, keeping up with current trends. One form of exercise that's been around for ages and is currently being rediscovered is suspension bodyweight training. So if you're looking for a way to get in shape, improve your health, and train your body to move in new ways, then the X1 by Israel Gym Systems is for you. Find out more on our website at www.israelgym.com or look for our page on Facebook, Israel Gym Systems X1. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed frequent flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back on Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Our thanks to Alex Griffel for coming in studio and being an in-studio guest. That was a lot of fun, talking about the steroid scandal in Major League Baseball, biogenesis. Of course, if you haven't heard, you've been under a rock. Ryan Braun suspended for 65 games, so he's done for the rest of the year for the Brewers. Alex Rodriguez on that list. The thinking is, once he goes to the Major League level, he will be suspended, and that Major League Baseball is just waiting for the right time to do that. So kind of a sad situation when it comes to Major League Baseball. We thought we were out of the woods, and certainly not yet. So it's tough. It's a tough situation. Also a reminder, check out the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab. Great items such as T-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Of course, price does include shipping, and we do ship throughout the entire world. On the line right now, the director of Split Decision, the story of Guillermo Rigondeaux, the Cuban defector boxer who won Olympic gold, and the 122-pound championship of the world, Brin-Jonathan Butler. Brin, welcome back to Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio.
How you doing?
Hey, doing great, and let's jump right into it. Of course, Rigo's last fight, very excellent fight, beats Donaire, 2012 Fighter of the Year. And now we're kind of being told that Rigondeaux is not getting necessarily the credit he deserves with that victory. So tell us about how the press and the boxing public has reacted to that victory.
Well, very badly. Most of the experts have heavily favored Donaire. So Dan Raphael on ESPN said it was an epically tragic fight to watch. It was so boring, and Larry Merchant said this is not the way to win over fans, and some of the brass at HBO said this was excruciating to watch. We'll lose more pay-per-view buyers than we'll gain. So it's interesting that HBO has actually gone forward vocally saying that they are going to try and get Donaire back on the air with them, whereas, according to Bob Arum, they've been vomiting on themselves at the prospect of airing the winner of the fight. So Rigo's found himself in a really unusual jam. I've never heard of a fighter beating the previous year's Fighter of the Year, and as a result, his promoter, the network that airs him, and almost all of the major voices in media have just said it was exactly what boxing doesn't need. It's very strange.
That is pretty weird as it gets, because usually you tell a fighter, hey, go out there and get a win against the Fight of the Year. You're going to be set. And he goes backwards. He almost is in a worse position before the fight began.
Well, and that's before we even consider the dollars and cents of his career, because for that fight, he made $750,000, 3 times his biggest payday up to that point. He can't go backwards on that for the remaining fights he has on his contract. I believe that he has 3 fights left on that contract. So if you consider that he can't sell tickets, as all of these people are saying, I mean, his own promoter after the fight says, you know, I'm going to have to bring Fidel Castro over to co-promote him if I want to sell any tickets for this guy. How do you market somebody like that with zero audience? You know, and he has a very vocal minority on the internet who defend him and say, you know, he's probably, you know, as classy a boxer as Floyd Mayweather, which I agree with. But none of these people seem to be buying tickets. They're not buying tickets for his shows. They're not buying pay-per-views, and that's all that, you know, the people who put on these kind of things care about. So it's very strange. I can't think of a less marketable fighter putting on such an impressive performance.
All right, let's talk about that, because technically sound, Guillermo is at the top of the top. He could be the best as far as technically sound, but he is not your knockout puncher. He doesn't necessarily draw blood, these type of things. The average boxing fan is into blood, not strategy, correct?
Well, I mean, that's an odd way to. It's tricky also, because Rigo coming into his fight against Donaire had literally knocked down every single opponent he'd ever faced. Donaire is the only opponent in his 12 victories that he hasn't been able to knock down, and he has a higher knockout percentage than Donaire. So what exactly makes Donaire an exciting fighter then, and Rigo a boring fighter, or a safety-first fighter, or a technical fighter? All these kind of euphemisms of saying he's boring. I think it seems like Rigo has always been branded a boring fighter, but if you look at his record and what he's accomplished, he's knocking people down left and right. And why is Floyd Mayweather a marketable fighter when he has far less of a knockout ratio than Rigo? It's strange.
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather, since the 2000 knockout of Ricky Hatton, I believe only had 1 knockout against Ortiz a few years ago. I think everything has gone to decision. And if they have similar type of style of fighting, defensive fighter, but Rigondeaux gets more knockouts, is it an issue of the personality outside of the ring that maybe Guillermo doesn't have and Floyd does? Is that the issue, the personality outside of the ring?
Oh, absolutely. And I think Floyd demonstrated his marketability once he made the shift from Pretty Boy Floyd, who was the best fighter in the world, to Money Mayweather, where, you know, a friend of mine pointed out to me that Floyd Mayweather is the most exciting fighter in the world until the moment he steps into a ring.
Right.
Quite a boring fighter in many respects in terms of what the boxing world is looking for. But I guess he does enough to sell the fights. Rigo, and this is where I can't begrudge the people who don't want to market him, he has absolutely no interest in marketing himself. And moreover, I think he is probably his own worst enemy in terms of not doing anything to meet the marketplace where it is. And maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe that's not his job. But certainly he can't expect the marketplace to bend over backwards to suit his own interests. I think he's been quite fortunate, actually, in the way things have played out in landing a Donaire fight and some of the other fights he's had to be on the undercard of Pacquiao, for example.
Now, has there been talk by Guillermo's handlers to maybe say, hey, why don't we have you appear here, take some pictures with some fans, autographs, or learn English, something? Is there some type of team that can come up with some idea to market this guy who, talent and skill, is one of the best boxers in the world?
I have every indication from talking to them. I mean, as somebody who's made a film largely centered on him, yeah, I mean, it's the most obvious question is it really that expensive or that difficult to hire a language tutor? Right. I mean, he's been here for almost 4 years. What are you missing to not do this so that he can grant interviews in English to an American audience that, you know, at the Home Run Derby recently during the All-Star game, there was like a Twitter storm over the fact that a Cuban won the competition and he gave his interview in Spanish. And people were saying, you know, how dare this person come to our country and not learn the language? So there's still that kind of sentiment that exists out there with a lot of sports fans who are the people who put up money. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with, you know, when I tried to market this movie and I was told by production companies, if there are subtitles, you realize that we lose 80% of the audience right off the bat.
Wow.
It could be the greatest movie in the world, but you're going to lose 80% of the audience in the United States. Now, I disagree with it, but it is a reality. So why he doesn't want to do things to meet that, I guess there's some bitterness about all he's accomplished, and he's just not getting the respect he thinks he's entitled to based on his accomplishments in the ring. But as you point out, most of this is you know, the kind of narrative you have that people want to get excited by, and he doesn't want to give away any of the narrative that's really interesting.
Now, back in the late 90s, you had Felix Trinidad, very popular fighter, did not speak English, kind of refused to learn English out of Puerto Rico. He had a huge fan base. Why is that? Why is that? How come he has a huge fan base and Guillermo doesn't?
Because Cubans in Miami, there's 1 million Cubans, and the Cuban American immigrants as a demographic make up, I think, according to a study I looked at last year, they were one of the wealthiest demographics as far as immigrants in the United States in the whole country. They are notoriously bad at supporting both baseball and boxing, the two massive, I don't even know if they're sports for Cubans, they're religions. Right. And yet they will not support them in the United States. So with Puerto Ricans, it was seen as a complete virtue on the part of Trinidad to not learn English. It was seen that he didn't sell out. With Rigo, it's exactly the opposite. He looks solemn, he looks bitter, he looks cold, and he seems to enjoy, you know, to say things like, how do you feel about being booed most of your fights? He said, I couldn't care less. Well, there are not many people in the field of entertainment who can kind of say F you to their audience and get away with it. I think Marlon Brando could. I don't know many others.
Right. All right. Now, I'm going to ask a question that's like a little mean to the Cuban demographics, but I have to point that out. Because Cubans, you talk about them being a quote-unquote successful minority, and then they kind of don't support their athletes. Is it an idea like, hey, we're moving on, and we don't want to go back to the old days, and we kind of want to forget that we're Cubans. We want to be Americans. Is that kind of the idea by not supporting these players, these athletes?
There are a lot of different theories. I don't know if there's one definitive answer, and I've been trying to get to the bottom of it for a while. If you talk to some of the brats in boxing, the powers that be, Bob Arum's answer was point blank, it's race. You look at all the athletes are black, and the majority of the Cuban American population is white. That seems oversimplistic, but maybe it's an element. It seems to play into some negative stereotypes about the Cuban Americans, but I don't know. I mean, these athletes seem to be so scarred just to get into the United States that, you know, I'm trying to think of a parallel. I mean, these guys are, you know, some of the agents who deal with baseball players that I interviewed for the film say it's a modern slave trade, getting these guys over, and they're sequestered in rooms and held like hostages until somebody pays a ransom. I'm sure this doesn't make you want to just open up and be all smiley when a reporter says, you know, so what was the journey to get over here?
Right.
Well, I lost my family. I lost my country. You know, this is not typically what Americans want to tune into for entertainment. Okay, thank you. So
wow.
It's a challenging narrative to get people interested in. You know, Saturday matinee is not going to be very popular if the only thing showing is Schindler's List. You know, we respect it's important, but it doesn't mean we're in the mood to see it, even though we know it's important.
Well said. Very well said. We're speaking with Brin-Jonathan Butler, the director of Split Decision. You talked about some of the baseball players, guys like Orlando Hernandez, Livan Hernandez. They defected for Cuba, kind of national heroes because they pitched well. They won World Series championships, Orlando with the Yankees, Livan with the Marlins. They seem to be somewhat embraced by America, not necessarily Cuban America, but the national media was like, what a great story. But did Cubans not really appreciate that? And was that more non-Cubans that were excited and happy about that situation?
Right. I mean, in baseball, you have a perfect example with Yasiel Puig. Immediately had a feature spread in Sports Illustrated. Is in the LA Times every day. I was editing the documentary to finish it off in Los Angeles. I got there at the beginning of June, which is just when Puig entered the league. He's batting 400. He's hitting these monstrosities of home runs. Here's a Cuban, Bo Jackson. And I'm thinking, Rigo has done exactly the same thing in boxing, except far more definitively. I mean, winning the world titles and beating the best that there is. Where's the similar press? It's nowhere because boxing is at a much lower profile than baseball. And, you know, I mean, Puig also is being criticized a little bit for being taciturn with the media, but he doesn't get scolded the way that Rigo does, where, you know, Rigo is just branded endlessly as boring. And he, to begin any interview, that's usually the first question. Why are you so boring? Why are you so safety first? Whereas, you know, Puig's hitting home runs, that's kind of all there is to say. Oh, what a phenom. But they don't say, you know, is he a flash in the pan or any of that kind of stuff. They just allow the excitement to kind of carry it through. Whereas Rigo's met all this resistance that Puig didn't seem to meet. And maybe that's a boxing versus baseball issue. I'm not sure, but it seems that way.
All right, now I want to talk about this Yahoo article written by Paul Magno. This was written Thursday of last week, talking about the situation with Rigonda. Now, according to this article, it says HBO is not going to broadcast Rigonda's next bout. Is that correct?
That's certainly what they've gone on record as saying. There's some rumors about him being on the Pacquiao undercard in China, but they certainly don't want him back in the United States. And when I was at the Donaire fight, it was interesting that I went over to one of the heads of programming of HBO to kind of say, well, I think this documentary just got a pretty big feather in its cap after this victory. And his response was just, this was disgusting for our network. This is exactly what we don't want. And I thought, wow, like the guy, by many experts that I respect, just beat the 2012 Fighter of the Year in a rout, 11 rounds to 1. And this is not good. This is not exciting. And this is his 12th fight. But that was the attitude they took. And Arum, the first thing he says is, boy, this guy's going to be hard to sell. So it's hard not to run with those kind of narratives when the people who are in a position to most, be his advocate sound like they can't stand him. Why are they promoting him in the first place? It's very strange to me.
Another weird thing I found with the article, Donaire really didn't seem interested in giving Rigondeaux credit. He said things like he didn't want to engage, referring to Rigondeaux. Also said, I really wasn't focused on the fight. I was focused on my son. It just kind of sounds like excuses. I think he has a hard time admitting that he was totally outclassed. The analogy in this article was Donaire looked like a AAA hitter facing an all-star pitcher with a great slider. I mean, is Donaire at any point going to give credit where credit is due?
No, I don't think he is, and I mean, talk about doublespeak. I mean, the first thing he said is, I have no excuses, and then he outlined 412 excuses.
Right.
And, I think, in my opinion, Rigo could have had his first fight against Donaire and done exactly the same thing, which is mind-boggling. If you know the history of the sport, especially with how dismissive people were about an amateur pedigree, it's Rigo has been at this level now, I don't even know, arguably, since the year 2000. Here we are 13 years later, and he's maintained it all the way along with, 4 losses in the amateurs, or, it's very strange to think, I think he's done a lot more with his achievements in his career overall than Mayweather, and yet he's relegated to this sort of being a curiosity. And now that he's cemented his reputation with this major fight, he took a huge step backwards, as it was. So, we're in kind of uncharted territory with him. I can't think of another fighter who's experienced this kind of backlash for just annihilating arguably a top 3 pound-for-pound guy in the sport in only his 12th fight.
Incredible stuff. I mean, you would be surprised, but then you realize it's boxing, and you can't really be surprised at anything that happens in the sport of boxing. Last question, a couple questions about Rigondeaux. What is the contract situation? Because HBO, even if they don't want to air his next fight, they're going to have to pay him. But will they still have to pay him $250,000, as you mentioned, because it can't really go down, and then not air the fight if he's not on the undercard of Pacquiao? Is that something that we would actually see happen?
Well, it's Arum who signed the contract with him as the promoter, and it's
okay.
$750,000, which that's why I say it's really hard to see how you line up a fight, because if he's making $750,000 to fight anybody, and you'd be a massive favorite to beat anybody, why would anybody take this fight against him? And why would anybody want to put it on? I mean, I was at Radio City Music Hall when he beat Donaire, and I would guess 2% of the audience who was there was a supporter. 2%. Maybe 95% Donaire, and then 3% people, oh, it's a Saturday night, why don't we see a fight tonight? So if he's that unmarketable, how, if you and I are putting on, we have a venue to put on a fight, how do we make any money paying this guy $750,000 to headline when we're going to make $50,000 as a gate, and there's no pay-per-view audience, and probably there's no TV audience who would want to put up any money for it because they're not going to get any viewers. So all he can really do is be on these undercards. Does HBO want to show him on the Pacquiao-Rios undercard? Maybe. I guess they're trying to do it, but boy, it's just such a massive challenge going forward, and he doesn't want to move up in weight classes. He doesn't want to do any sort of dramatic ways to market himself. He doesn't feel that he has to, but he really does have to, I think. So he'll be 33 at the end of September, so I really don't see how this thing is going to unfold.
Wow. All right. I just don't know what to say. I'm just shocked. When I read the article, and obviously having you on this, I'm just completely shocked. What is the latest regarding the film? When do you expect to have it completely edited and ready for production?
The editing is all done. So the stage right now is just, and we've included all of Rigo's fights, which is something I wasn't going to do, but every one of his fights is included. And I guess the plan now is just to attend to some legal matters of fair use for some of the archival footage we've got, sync in some music, and then try and get it out there. We're already getting approached by some distributors and get it into the festivals, and ideally get it onto HBO. I mean, these guys have shown his fights, so I'm hoping they would want some free marketing material, which would be this documentary on why people might care about him and want to support him.
All right, I'm going to leave you with this. I just saw this very briefly, but are they making another Rocky movie? The article I saw was they're going to make the movie about Apollo Creed's grandson, and Rocky will be the trainer. Now, they tried that in Rocky 5, which was a disaster, where Rocky turns trainer. I mean, apparently that's why I'm reading. Rocky's thinking about making Rocky 7. So what would be worse, making a Rocky 7 or what's going on with Guillermo about not airing his fight? What would actually be worse?
I'd have to say Rocky 7. I did see Rocky 5 and 6. I think I would rather see Conan 3 with, Schwarzenegger in it than Rocky 7.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I would actually enjoy seeing Conan 3 with Schwarzenegger at the age of 65. I don't know how I feel about Rocky 7, but I might see it.
I don't know if it's going to happen or not because these rumors are very weird. I mean, I saw an article that was old about it, but then I saw an article next to the Yahoo article regarding Rigondeaux on the right side saying about it. So I don't know what is going on. It's very, very weird situation. I certainly hope it's some type of trick rumor trying to, like an April Fool's joke. Maybe we're at a point where there are no new movie stars and you just have to recycle the old ones. Is that kind of where we're at?
Well, it certainly seems to be. I mean, some of these maybe it's just an age issue. I mean, I just turned 34, and, to look in the newspaper week after week and there's no movies that I want to see that are mainstream films, it's a little disconcerting. Like, I'm a sucker. I really like going to the movies, and to not even be inspired to, every film is just, what is this? It's part 7 of a film that I wouldn't conceive of seeing part 1 of it. It's just such a boring one-sentence concept that I would never want to see on an airplane or, even, go at the dentist if they were playing it while I was getting a root canal. I'd say, no, just let me just have the root canal straight up. I'd rather not focus on this film. I don't know. It's a weird time we're in.
Oh, wow. Harsh words, but sometimes I do know what that's about. I certainly feel that. All right, Brent. Well, I'll send you that link on Facebook, that whole Rocky 7 thing. I thought it was a joke. I seriously thought it was some type of scam, but apparently they have an actor ready to play Apollo Creed's grandson, which is going to be, it says here, Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. I think Michael B. Jordan played Creed's son. I don't even want to know about that. Jeez. Okay. Anyway, Brent, also happy birthday to you, by the way. Happy 34th. Hope it's a good one. Stay focused, my man. Stay focused. And we look forward to seeing the movie about Guillermo real soon.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Talk to you soon.
All right, be well. Brin-Jonathan Butler, everybody, the director of Split Decision. Rocky 7, huh? I mean, part of the idea was with Rocky 6 was that it was going to be the last one. That's part of the reason it was kind of did well in the box office. Are we lied to? It's like those boxers that always talk about retiring and then they don't. And when you think it's their last fight, they have a big turnout, partly because the fans want to see their last fight. And then they fight like a few months later. So feel kind of bamboozled and used. All right, folks, that is going to conclude our show. I want to thank everyone who was involved. We had a great 2 hours, jam-packed. First guest was Ari Bluestein, Philadelphia insider, to talk about the biogenesis scandal regarding Ryan Braun and Alex Rodriguez. Of course, Ryan Braun, the victim of several anti-Semitic tweets. That's always not fun. Some of them were funny, but some of them were not. We then had on Scott Neiss, head of Israel Lacrosse, talking about the women's 8th-place finish in Canada in the World Cup games, and the Israel men's team that played Turkey in Ashkelon, and the great turnout to see that ball game, that lacrosse game. And Israel looks to be ranked 12th approximately in the world around the 2014 championship game. So we'll certainly keep an eye on all that. Scott Neiss has just done a fantastic job. I mean, you're talking about a situation where lacrosse in Israel was basically started 2 years ago as far as more on an official level. And here he is with going to tournaments and all these different types of things. So kudos to Scott for all that great work. Then at 9 p.m., we had very special in-studio guest Alex Griffel. Alex Griffel came in. We broke down some more issues of steroids, and in particular how Ryan Braun was able to negotiate this deal. Generally, a first-time offense for a steroid user is 50 games. Ryan Braun negotiated to 65. Partly could have gotten more because this whole nature of the scandal. Also was a bit of a punishment for appealing a few years earlier regarding his, at the time, if you recall, Ryan Braun was found to have taken steroids. He appealed, and he won on technicality because the evidence was not handled correctly. So that was the situation that handled there. Won on a technicality. This time doesn't win a technicality. Admitted that he made some mistakes and is not going to appeal the punishment this time around. Negotiated the 65-game suspension. So that means that he is done for the rest of the season. He, of course, the 2011 MVP. And then we just had Brin-Jonathan Butler on, the director split decision, talking about how Guillermo just can't get a break. He beats Donaire easily, 11 rounds out of 12, and he can't get his fight air on HBO. It's a good chance his next fight won't be on TV. You think he'd be the toast of the town, the toast of the boxing world. Beating Donaire was the 2012 Fight of the Year. We also talked about how Donaire made a lot of excuses, saying that Guillermo didn't want to engage and that Donaire wasn't really focused on the fight anyway. He was thinking more about his son. That's BS. I mean, this situation where Guillermo outclassed, outboxed Donaire. Donaire had no answers for him all night long when that fight took place a few months ago. We'll see what happens. There's talk that he could be under the Pacquiao undercard in Asia, and maybe Guillermo's career will take off. We're certainly rooting for him. Obviously, not the easiest situation to defect from Cuba and then have to fight professionally to make a living to stay alive. And, I don't know what to say, but hopefully things will turn around for him. I don't know what else he can do in the ring. Have to focus on things outside the ring, I suppose. And, again, also a reminder that me and Alex Griffel will be doing the Maccabi Games. Tomorrow is the semifinals between Canada and Israel. The winner will play the United States on Friday. Tomorrow's game is 10 a.m. live from the Arcone Fields in Baptist Village in Petah Tikva. That's 10 a.m. Israel time, 3 a.m. on the East Coast, midnight on the West Coast. Then the game on Friday will be at 11 a.m. Israel time, 4 a.m. on the East Coast, and 1 in the morning on the West Coast. So we've seen 2 no-hitters in the Maccabi. We also had a no-hitter today where Canada would have actually lost. Canada had a no-hitter going until the last at-bat in the 7th inning. They only played 7 innings in the Maccabi and gave them a hit right at the end. Otherwise, they had a no-hitter but lost. So interesting stuff there. And Israel almost had a shutout, but gave up a run in the 7th. So, actually Canada would have only pitched 6 innings because they were the visiting team, but would have still gone down in the books a no-hitter as far as I know. Times of Israel actually misquoted myself and Alex regarding the no-hitter by Benjamin on Thursday, saying it was the first no-hitter in the Maccabi. That is not true. There has been no-hitters, but this was the first no-hit shutout by one pitcher that happened on Thursday, and then we saw a no-hitter actually on Monday as well. So the United States has 2 no-hitters in their 3 wins, and they had 1 loss yesterday, so they're 3-1 in the tournament. Israel has 2 wins, and Canada has 1 win. And again, tomorrow will be the semifinals. Winner will play the United States on Friday. Also, a reminder, folks, to check out the Israel Sports Radio store. Great items such as T-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Click on the store tab. If you're listening to us on Justin TV, we first want to thank you for listening, and, of course, we want to thank Justin TV as well, our friends over at Justin TV. Go ahead and go over to IsraelSportsRadio.com and click on the store tab. You'll see all those great items there. Price does include shipping, and we do ship throughout the entire world. And for any other questions regarding Israel Sports Radio or the store, you can email me personally at IsraelSportsRadio@yahoo.com. That is my own personal email account. Even though I am the CEO of the company, I still handle emails personally. I don't delegate those tasks to my interns. I handle that. Yours truly will write back to you. So email me at IsraelSportsRadio@yahoo.com if you have any questions, concerns, comments, criticisms. Sometimes Jewish people criticize. So if you do have a criticism, you can email me there. I'll take a look at it and probably make fun of you back. Again, IsraelSportsRadio@yahoo.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. The Twitter handle is IsraelSportsRAD. Again, IsraelSportsRAD. And our Pete Rose interview is up on the right side if you want to check that out. Of course, this is the season of baseball. If you want to listen to my interview with Charlie Hustle, 16 minutes long. Charlie Hustle very candid about the steroid issue, talked about not being in the Hall of Fame, what players reminds him of himself that are currently playing, And, of course, will his record ever be broken? I asked Pete that directly, point blank. Pete Rose is about the most blunt interview you could ever ask for as a broadcaster. So we certainly appreciate his time. Again, one more reminder, check out the store tab. Check out the store by clicking on the store tab at IsraelSportsRadio.com. A lot of great items there. Get T-shirts, hats, books. We have T-shirts of your favorite sports team in Hebrew. So that's always a nice collectible. Rosh Hashanah is right around the corner, Jewish New Year. You want to ask your friends, family members, or strangers for forgiveness. That's always a nice touch when you can add a gift on top of asking for forgiveness. So again, stay tuned tomorrow, 10 a.m. You can go to israelbaseball.org.il to listen to the games. We'll be on at 10 a.m. myself and my main man Alex Griffel. That's 10 a.m. Israel time, 3 a.m. on the East Coast, and midnight on the West Coast. Stay tuned for that, and the final on Friday at 11 a.m. Israel time. Stay tuned for also great shows such as the OCG show and the Wrestling Breakdown show and other announcements in general and shows in general. But that's it for tonight. God bless, and good night.